Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. My name is Ali Al-Saigh, Vice President of Internal Communication and Employee Engagement with EDNOC. This interview is part of the virtual Majlis series brought to you by EDNOC Insights in support of volunteers.ae. Culture and its role during COVID-19 is the theme of my conversation with Her Excellency Noura Al Kaabi, Minister of Culture and Knowledge Development for the United Arab Emirates. Your Excellency, thank you very much for joining me for this virtual conversation.
Thank you for having me, Eddie.
Your Excellency, as we are approaching the middle of the year, it is obvious that the events of 2020 have changed dramatically our view of the world. And for many of us, it's shifted our priorities. In your opinion, have the current dramatic events changed our perspective on the role that culture plays in our society and the UAE and also at a global level?
Well, I know that nowadays our survival kit looks more like an essential list for a household. This pandemic has made us all realize about all the things that maybe we took for granted or spent time on or money on, that it might be not a necessity when you look at it under such circumstances. The world is in the process of an easing of a lockdown. Resources are stretched and around 1 million of people are affected. Everyone is affected. Amidst all this, culture is not the primary form of survival at this time. Yet, culture is an essential tool for us, for a functioning society. In the future, creatives and creative spaces are just, a space that encourages people to meditate, for them to have a safe haven and to interact. The spaces, whether they're the creative spaces, the galleries, it's where people will need to go back to normalcy, to be social and exchange ideas and develop not just mentally, yet also from a well-being perspective. There is audience of the creative and cultural content that is looking towards visual art through this time like this. The audience are more engaged than ever before, and we see it. Today, Ali, we're in this webinar together. And thank you so much. It's my first time to be in a webinar or a Majlis or a virtual Majlis with EDNOC, which has a very special place in our hearts. We can see the surge of numbers in websites and webinars due to the pandemic, and I truly believe that this is the silver lining that we should focus on.
It's well known that the UAE is home for an organic growth of art audiences and artists, and we do have very well-known cultural institutions such as the Louvre Abu Dhabi. So, in your opinion, how are those institutions surviving given the current crisis?
I think the institutions are adapting, like many other institutions. One wise person once said, "It will be the worst pandemic if we don't come out of this with changed behavior and attitude." It's important to sustain and retain models that we worked on just during this period of social distancing, isolation. Also build on these models to see how can we steer the future programming and policies and incorporate those ideas for the future. We can see, going back to your question, Eddie, and all cultural institutions have been instrumental in bringing education content in our screens. When geographical distancing would have made difficult to attend talks and seminars, we can access them through our devices. It's a time where virtual reality is the new reality, where what happens in the chat box now is kind of the virtual mingling, let's say. And I've been enjoying that. And the fun part is sometimes you can attend 2 webinars at the same time. You will never be able to do this physically. I have been able to connect in a personal level, Ali, with ministers of culture from all across the world in those 3 months, more than ever since I was appointed as a Minister of Culture. And I feel this is where, for us as cultural institutions, as individuals working in the cultural institutions, are adapting and utilizing such platforms.
I'm glad you used the word adapting instead of the use of my word surviving. And And I think that is a key element of everything that we do in the UAE. We find ourselves always adapting to the current challenges that we go through. And in the use of the same vocab world of adapting, I want to shift to a next question about people and how they're adapting their priorities, given this shift of what is a nice to have mindset to what do we must have. And this is something that goes very well with the artistic pursuits. What can we do collectively in the UAE, Your Excellency, to encourage people to remain in this creative field and to continue to invest in culture?
I mean, it's asking ourselves a question, Ali, during this pandemic, what have been, in a personal level, you've been enjoying mostly? In the beginning, we saw, as I said, a surge in terms of consuming content online. When you say culture, you look at music, film, theater, live sessions. And buying and going to what is a must and what is nice to have. Buying art is rarely as a short-term goal. Buying art is a long life investment. And this is by itself is where patrons of art and collectors and who, the artists and the enthusiasts using this channel for in such unprecedented manner to not just purchase but to also spread awareness. Many artists are conducting, as I said, live sessions, and this by itself is helping not just the artist or the community. Even children are being crafty at home, whether they're baking or they're building stuff. It's I didn't bake yet. I feel that I'm missing out. I have to try it. We have also many inspiring responses with the local community here in the UAE. I can name few, like when Circle Avenue waived 3 months of rent into the gallery and creative spaces. You have the Jameel Art Center's Jaddaf Al-Oud online virtual programming. You're having Dubai Culture stimulus packages, Sharjah Public Library also access of 6 million books. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs buying art from local artists. Out of the ministry also working with our partners. You have the Department of Culture in Abu Dhabi also working at its best to offer a wonderful online platform. It's called Culture for All, Thaqafa al-Jamia. And finally, the Ministry of Culture announced or worked on a national creative relief program for individuals and SMEs. So we're looking at art, we're looking at, individuals who work in art and the creative and cultural sector, yet also how can we highlight and amplify that this is a creative sector that looks like any other sector when you look into your kind of a ranking of practices or genres and what drives the economy in any country.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Stay tuned on the virtual Majlis for the second part of this interview.